in Kitsap County. Go ahead and hit the horn. It is 80 degrees in the city of Bremerton. Beautiful day. You know what time it is. It is the best hour of your day. I'm so sorry that I am late, but we are here nonetheless to bring you another good show. And you know what? This is episode number 75. Woo! 75 consecutive shows. That is a huge deal, everyone. But I'm not always here. So, Mr. Consecutive, that sounds like Reggie Jackson, right? Mr. October, Mark Boatwright Frost. Let's bring him on.
Woo! You should have seen
like
him.
Mr.
You guys should have
Consistent?
seen him. Yeah, you guys should have seen Marwan sliding into home plate and dropping into the chair. That was a truly remarkable thing to see.
Seeing as I have this big old knee brace on my left knee, it would have been something to see. I'd be still down there.
Crawling up the chair.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And today we have a soundtrack for the show. I just kind of put it over there for the soundtrack is Celebration by Kool and the Gang. So if all of you at home want to put that old spinner on while we're talking, that would be absolutely fabulous because we're going to be talking about celebrating.
All right. Celebrate good times. Come on. Boom, 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 boom. Woo-hoo!
Okay, and we now just got our first hit on the our first bot hit.
Well, you know what? Before we get started, let me just tell you that I picked my first kale today, and I had enough kale to fill up a really large stainless steel bowl.
Cool. Now, did you eat it, or did you cook it, or did you?
So, from what I was learning, right now I put it in a paper towel and put it in the fridge.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna blanch it. Probably make a salad. See if Kendra will make a soup for me, and then I'm gonna freeze the rest of it. And
Okay,
so there was a process to freeze.
Yeah, there is a great recipe for kale soup that the Swiss have during the wintertime, autumn and wintertime.
Ooh, what is it?
It is. I think it's a cream kale soup where the kale is pureed with the cream and a little bit of Swiss cheese in it and a lot of spices.
Pureed.
Yeah, basically you put it in the blender with the base of the soup and then you heat it.
Really? Okay. So the one that Kendra makes is the one that you can get at Olive Garden. So it's sausage, potatoes, and kale.
Oh, okay.
So there's some heavy cream in there. Sounds
So more
very
like
similar.
an Italian version. Yeah, more like an Italian version than a Swiss version.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. So delicious. It's a little too
It's,
hot for that, but I do love the soup.
Yeah, it's good. It's good eats no matter what you look at when you do that. Speaking
Yeah.
of that, one of the reasons for today's actually, first of all, go back to you for a second. I want you to
Okay.
scan down and show them the shirt you're wearing. Marwan
Ah.
did not just run in here with a t-shirt on and right out of his bedroom or whatever. I want you to
Oh, I
see
guess
what the t-shirt says.
I see now. So you were asking me, you're gonna put on a shirt because I'm normally wearing a tie or something.
Right. So I just wanted you all to see the shirt for him running for city council in the city of Bremerton.
Absolutely. Oh man, I couldn't understand why you were making that comment the way that you were. It's like, well, I've worn a shirt before. Like, okay.
You just couldn't see what it was about.
What it was about.
Right. So it just looked like, dude, you're usually the
No, I'm doing my first campaign walk today.
Okay.
So I'll be out and about in we're in West Bremerton, and we'll be walking around door knocking today. So it's the first day. So hence no tie.
That's awesome. And until about 20 minutes ago, I was wearing a lime green shirt, a bright green shirt, that of course won't show with the green screen. That has. Are you familiar with the movie The Mystery Men?
Ooh. Oh yes.
Mystery Men. Paul Rubin played the Sphincter. Pull my finger, superpower. I have a shirt with him on it as the Sphincter. And as you may or may not know, Paul Rubin died yesterday. 70 years old of cancer.
Wow.
So yeah, I was kind of wearing that as an homage to Paul Rubin's comic brilliance.
Well, I'd say at least 70 because at least he made 70 because we're hearing a lot of folks dying, 50, 52, 54. Like, what's going on?
Well, I beat those odds so far. Let's hope I keep going.
Yep,
Um,
knock on
and
wood.
and the reason, going back to the reason that we're doing the celebration thing, is I have not celebrated my birthday in probably a decade. A little bit more than that. I celebrated 60 because it just seemed appropriate. The last time I celebrated my birthday really was when I turned 52. And the reason I
When is
celebrated it
your
then is
birthday and how old are you?
my birthday is next week,
Is
and
next week?
I will be 67 years old.
Wow, you're pushing 70?
Yep,
Man, let me give you the horn. You look good for 66 there, buddy.
thank you.
Yeah, no,
But
really.
yeah, so I celebrated 52 because I now outlived my father, who died at 52 of
Wow.
lymphatic cancer.
See, that's what I'm
So
saying. People dying in
yeah,
their 50s.
so I've been thinking a lot about birthdays, and I don't celebrate them because I think it's a waste of time. I mean, if you're not doing stuff all the time, then what's the point? And then I
Hmm.
suddenly realized maybe that's the point. So I am actually having a party next week for the first time in a long time. My ex-wife and my daughter and Terry, and I'm going to invite a couple other people over who've known me for a long time. And the presents I've asked them to bring me are a story of me. It can be
Oh,
a
wow.
story of me being really good. It can be a story of me being really bad, and talk about how much of an asshole I am. But the point of it is to realize where you are now and what your growth has brought you to.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty happy with who I am now. I mean, you can always do better, but growth is a journey, and I've been on it for a long time. I said each year for my birthday, I think that I want to celebrate the journey. I want to celebrate and reflect on what it is. I don't want gifts. I don't want any frippery. I just want to share meals with friends and close people, and I want to talk about how they remember me. What things have I? How did I affect their lives for good? If I was an asshole, tell me I was an asshole. I'm okay with that because yeah, I've been an asshole on occasion. There are things I have regrets about, and I'm happy to face those. But that's not who I
On
am
your
now.
birthday?
Yeah,
Okay.
because and that response there opens up the show. Uh,
Interesting.
See, I can cast bait out there, and Marwan will grab it.
Do 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 do.
All right. So the point of this is let's look at how we celebrate things. I just
Mm,
shared with how and this has been a long time coming for me to be okay with sharing my birthday with people, and or even caring about it. So I started thinking about why I don't like celebrations. Why I don't like. Well, we discussed about a month ago why I don't like the fourth. As
mhm.
my as I just Kira and I went and picked up the ashes from our dog. I don't like the fourth. I think it's stupid that we celebrate war instead of the accomplishments we have done since the inception of America. Now, granted, there are fewer of them to celebrate lately than there have been in the past, but we've done a lot of really great things. And I think that that's what we should be celebrating. We shouldn't be celebrating the war. Um, New Year's Eve is one of my favorite examples. People go out and drink themselves silly on New Year's Eve celebrating and wake up the first day of the new year with a hangover. What does that say? I mean, how self destructive is that? I think the way that we are trained, we are enculturated to celebrate, can be extraordinarily self destructive.
I agree, but you do have control over that. So for me, and I haven't been able to do it the last 2 years. The way I bring in the New Year's is I go to G2 and I hand mop the floors and I reflect on the year and what we've done, good or bad, kind of like what you want to do for your birthday.
Hmm.
And then I reflect on where I want, you know, to take G2 in the year coming up. And I broadcast that, right? And so it's just me having a conversation after I mop, right? And so it's just really good. It's like cleansing the year and coming into a new year clean and fresh and ready to go. So that's how I bring the new year
And see, that makes sense. But our culture pushes a lot of things. I mean, I could go on and on, but I think I'm going to tell you a story from my actually late teens, early 20s. I worked in a shoe store in Southern California at South Coast Plaza Mall, and my manager, um, she had this philosophy. The week before her birthday, she went out and partied hard for the entire week. She would be up
in.
till 2 in the morning, show up at work at 9. She'd be hungover. She'd be, just almost still shit faced. And I asked her, Chris, why do you do this? I mean, it makes no sense to abuse yourself that much. And she goes, I want to know on my birthday when I wake up that I am a year older. I want to feel a year older. And I was going, well, that's one way to do it. But it's the kind of our enculturation to abuse ourselves in our celebrations, to not pay attention to consequences and not really understand why we're celebrating. It's just a good time to go out and get drunk and have a party. And the whole culture of getting drunk. Terry and I were talking about some of the softball games that she's umpiring, and the whole focus is to uh, drink while you're playing, and then go out and drink afterwards until you can't stand up. It's just you wonder about why we think that's an okay way to celebrate when celebration should be about celebrating, about embracing the moment. And that's kind of like it's something I think about a lot. And I think that it's not a healthy way to express ourselves. And I think that what you're doing on New Year's, what I do for my birthday, these are ways to embrace the good things in ourselves, to embrace the change that we want to see in the world, as opposed to let's go get hammered and forget life exists.
I don't I don't think I've ever really been that way. I mean, there was in my younger times in my 20s, early 20s, teens, I was a pretty wild, but for me, I never liked really being drunk because throwing up is very painful and I'm afraid of it. And I'm also a control freak. So it's another reason why I don't like doing drugs because I like to be in control. I also don't like roller coasters because I want to get off the ride when I want to get off the ride, right? I also want to be the person who's driving typically. So that I think that has saved me because who knows if I did enjoy those things, I have an addictive personality. Maybe I try marijuana or something harder one day, and then I'm hooked. So I'm thankful that I am a control freak in that way. So that was never really my thing. I've had parties. This year I turned 50, and my plan was to have a big birthday party, but it was to do a fundraiser for the unhoused, right? So even then, I'm thinking something else, and so it got busy. There were some really big things going on. My birthday is on the 24th of January. That's a secret, so don't tell anyone. But the
Shh.
uh, but the county was doing their I can't even think of it right now. The big collaborative resource fair in different cities, and it was the 24th, 25th, and 26th. So on my birthday, I was working to make sure that folks that had less had access to services and broadcasting that out. And so that's what I like to do on my birthday. Like I'm not going to work on my birthday. No, on my birthday, I'm in my purpose because God's been able to bless me with another year to do good. And so I just
Yeah.
like doing good.
Yeah, I work my birthdays all the time anyhow because the point of it for me now, and as I say before, I just continue to work. It's just another day of the week. This year, I want to start, and maybe it's because I'm turning 67. I don't know, but I
Could
want to
be.
start looking, and because I'm in a really good place. I don't. I mean, I have regrets. I have things that I'm not proud of, but I think I'm okay with it now with what I do and how I do it and the work that I'm doing. That I couldn't be who I am if I didn't do all those things.
If we had had this conversation before you've had this epiphany and you're changing, honoring yourself in this way, I would have encouraged you to do so. There are some pretty crazy statistics out there that are pretty high. That black men don't make it to the age of 21, and I was almost that statistic. As I was in Harborview, fighting for my life with a subdural hematoma from an assault, and so I was almost one of those people. And so in that regard, I need to be thankful for another year. Now I don't, do the hey, it's my birthday for a week or it's my birthday month. There are people that do that. And if that's what you're doing, good on you. But for me, I try to tell folks it is important that you acknowledge the day. Like Stephanie, she doesn't like to acknowledge her birthday, right? So one year we rented out the C film and went to, I think it was Black Panther, I believe. And
Actually, I was with you. I was with you on that.
she hated it, right? She hates those things, but it is important, right? We're acknowledging, that you are value in our life, that we appreciate you, that you're seen, and even if you won't do it yourself, we're gonna do it, and those memories are there, and other people benefited from it also because that was an open thing, right? Where other
Right.
people can come in and help to celebrate, and it just, it's another way to build community.
Absolutely so. And in this case, it's more of a selfish thing for me. I just want to take the time to reflect with my family and my friends who I am, where I came from, what some of the things are that I've done, be reminded of some things because it seems
Well,
to me it helps keep me grounded.
and for sure, people see us differently than we see ourselves, right?
That's the other point is I will get the perspective of somebody else seeing looking at me.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal.
So yeah, our view of celebrations, I think that they need to be meaningful,
Mhm.
and I think that we need to rethink what we do when we do them. I may not hate the Fourth so much if it was something where people came together and celebrated the greatness of what we can do. And I think that with the work that we do with the resilient ecosystems and with the grassroots networks we're developing, at some point, the fourth could be us coming together and celebrating the changes we have made for humanity.
So, I'm wondering if, let's say, the fourth was that celebration, right? This was a lot on your family member that is
Yep.
now passed, right? Would you still want the fireworks not to be there, or would you deal with the fireworks because Americans were celebrating the innovation and all the good parts of America?
I would. Okay, so the one thing about Washington State that I found very interesting and actually kind of fascinating the first couple of years, and now I hate with a passion, is the legality of fireworks for anybody. And I would like to see a fireworks show, a professional fireworks show that lasts 20 minutes, like most of them do, and not have everybody blow this shit up everywhere around me.
Mm.
The 8 hours is too much. 20 minutes of a sustained professional show, that's cool. But the ongoing everybody blowing shit up for 3 weeks before and 3 weeks after, that's too much. I mean,
But
think
isn't
about
that
the.
the epitome of individualism and independence?
Yeah, but it's also the violation of a social contract. People don't think about the animals. They don't think about the vets with PTSD who were in Afghanistan or Iraq or some of the ones from Vietnam that are still around that hate that because it makes them curl up under the floor and or react and get violent or any number of the other the symptoms that happen when you get triggered. There are a lot of people that don't thrive on that. And to me, let's be honest, I said this before. The fire, the literal hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars of fireworks that we spend and blow up and burn up here in Kitsap County on the 4th of July. It's hold my beer and watch this. I've seen
It is.
people I've seen people do really stupid shit. I saw a couple of kids shooting Roman candles at each other.
That's what Well, it happened a couple years, but as you know, I'm terrified of fireworks because my brother would do that, and then he would build his own fireworks or whatever you would call them, and he lit my leg on fire. So I don't like fireworks. So yeah, but I've seen that, and I've been the victim of that
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's
as a
Ferris
kid.
wheels.
Ferris, you don't like Ferris wheels?
Oh no, I had a cousin who I went up on the Ferris wheel at the Fun Zone in Newport Beach, and at the very top we stopped, and he swung the thing back and forth and said, "Hey, look how much fun this is." And I'm not good with heights.
Mm.
I don't like heights terribly much. And I'm up there, and we're swinging in this thing. I said, "Just stop, please stop." I've been able to go on a Ferris wheel since then.
Oh, really?
I hate them.
I would have been that friend. My oldest friend, the teacup where you got the steering wheel in the middle and you
Oh
spin
God,
it.
I'll do that all day long.
Oh, he hates it, you know. And so I talked him into it. He's like, "Man, don't spin it this time." You know, I'm like, "No, I promise you, I will not spin it. Of course, I'm gonna spin it." And you know, once it gets going, you can't stop it. Like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Linus, Lucy, and Charlie Brown spin the hell out of that thing, and he just, oh.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with the teacups. I'm good with roller coasters. I've been on some blazingly good ones. There was one. When was I there? I was in Virginia Beach. I was 9 years old, I guess.
Mm,
So it had to be in the '60s. And they had this roller coaster called the Rocket at this. Okay, the shooting galleries at this amusement park on Virginia Beach. They were 22s. They were
mm,
real guns, and you were shooting at the targets. And they
wow.
had this roller coaster that shot out, went up the clickety 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 up over the hill, rolled down the hill, and shot out over the water, and did a hairpin turn at the end of the water. And you're like over you're like 30, 40 yards out over the ocean, and it does a hairpin turn. They had crazy shit back then, and I'm sure the
Yeah,
safety measures weren't anywhere like they are now.
I'm good. I'm good. None of that.
So yeah, I used to love roller coasters, but back to the celebrating. There's healthier ways to celebrate. Not to mention, we talked about it the Fourth of July, the air pollution quotient, how healthy the air was.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it went from like okay to Los Angeles in the 1960s and 70s
No, no,
overnight,
never
and
really
it lasted about
considered
a
that.
week. Yeah, pre Clean Air Act totals
Mhm.
of air pollution. I mean, and these are like heavy metals that are in the water, all kinds of. There's nothing good about that many fireworks being blown up in a short amount of time in a small space. And there's lots of ways to do things, but that's just one way to celebrate. New Year's Eve again. We're going to go out and celebrate the year that's ended by being sick the next day for the year that's beginning. Our birthday celebrating our year, and people I guess do birthdays. They the whole idea of eating cake, and I know you like cake and stuff. I personally don't care for sweets,
And
and
pie.
I feel sick after eating a lot of sweets. And I saw something on somebody's page this morning. Krispy Kreme has got a 3-pack celebrating M&Ms, and two of the donuts are like covered with M&Ms. The center one is what would normally we would call a jelly filled donut. It's
Mhm.
filled with M&Ms, and it's painted on top like a red M&M.
Mm.
And I look at that and I go, the very
Yeah, my
idea of
daughter
eating
would love
that,
it.
yeah, the very idea of eating it just makes me sick.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like candy on stuff. It just looks
Yeah,
weird. However, if you haven't had a donut with bacon on it, you need to at least have it once. It's pretty good. You get
not
the
me.
salty and you get the
I
sweet.
Well, first of all, I'm allergic to wheat, so eating a donut with anything on it would be a bad thing for me for a long time.
Mm.
But one of the things I watched my Diane, my ex-wife, and my daughter Kira do is they went to Kids Up County Fair and they ate a bacon cheeseburger with Krispy Kreme donuts,
Yeah, that sounds kind of disgusting.
and I
Can
just
you
went,
not eat bacon?
huh?
Can you
No,
not eat bacon?
oh no, hell no, I eat bacon.
Oh, okay.
I don't eat wheat, and wheat is donuts. So But
No, donuts is donuts, sir.
yeah, I know, but there are wheat in it. Wheat flour
I
is what's used
I
in
know
it.
what you're
So,
talking about. We don't know what's in these ingredients. We just know it's a donut, so we eat it.
and
Ignorance is bliss.
see, that's the point, isn't it?
Yes.
We,
Yes,
we
it is.
don't think we don't think about the celebrations and what we do for the celebrations, and ignorance is bliss.
Mhm.
What if our life could be way better if we celebrated just a little bit differently?
Ooh, yeah. One person at a time.
Yeah, as I say, we need to understand our culture has us do things, or influences us to do things. Ah, Rob, donuts are good. Rob Dent just came in with donuts are good. Three exclamation marks.
Donuts are good.
So, Rob, are you listening to Cool and the Gang? Um, donuts are good. Um, I will say donuts may be good, and I've had a few that were good. Terry prefers raspberry turnovers, and that's her.
Ooh, apple.
Um, huh? And you're
Apple.
and you're an apple turnover guy.
Apple
Um,
fritters,
but
apple turnovers. Yeah.
but the whole idea of a bacon cheeseburger between Krispy Kreme donuts, yeah, just kind of you're putting that in your mouth. Literally, I'm hearing the heart attack starting.
People have put worse things in their mouths.
Oh, there's so many things I could say about that. I'm just going to keep it to myself.
Food wise, sir. Food wise. But yes, I have put worse things in a donut bun cheeseburger. Yeah, that
Bacon
doesn't
cheeseburger.
bacon cheeseburger. Unfortunately, no, sorry, you can't partake.
Oh, is he messaging you? Because
Oh no, he knows I can have the bacon.
oh, okay.
And you can have the bacon. He's saying sorry, you can't have the donuts.
Oh, it's okay. Of all the things that I could give up, that's one of the ones I'm happy to do so. Too much sugar for me. Um, I am not a big sweet person, and it's like my favorite candy growing up was red licorice. Not
Oh yes.
not the sweet super weird shit they got now. I'm talking
Hmm.
about old fashioned red licorice.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
red
that was
vines.
my yeah. For me it was the ropes. There was a candy shop near us where they actually made the licorice, and
Hmm.
oh my god, it was incredible.
Mm.
But I've never been a big fan of cakes. Um, Too much stuff, too much sweet, too much everything, and I always feel sick afterwards. Pie, certain pies, I love to death.
I love pie.
Give me a good key lime pie. Love me some red vines. Yep.
It's interesting. When I was younger, probably until about 11, I wouldn't have a birthday cake. I'd have a lemon meringue pie.
Oh, right there with you. Lemon meringue pie, key lime pie. Yeah, I love those. A good apple pie and a good peach pie would have been my go-tos. So
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
pie is good.
so it's not necessarily don't eat bad food type thing, but eat food that's worth eating.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I love going to a Chinese restaurant. And at the end, you get the fortune cookie, but you also get orange slices, which I think is really cool.
Oh, you go to a different Chinese restaurant than I used to go to. They never got the orange slices, but that's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, almost most of I don't know if they're doing it now. I don't know if Emperor's Palace does it, but yeah, we'd always get orange slices at the end of the meal.
yeah. I
And it
used to
was
go
like,
to the I used to go to the Golden Mum up on Silver Pine, off of Fairgrounds. Their food is pretty good, actually, but they never gave me orange slices. Anyhow, the point of food is, and let's circle back around to the way we celebrate. We go to the market and we buy a sheet cake that is so disgustingly full of all kinds of weird shit that it's just basically all you can do is sugar. And I know that you're going, yeah, yeah, I'm all down for that.
oh
And
yeah.
I'm like going, I'd rather make a cake and actually know what's in it. And we go back to the fact that people don't cook anymore. They don't bake anymore. They don't know how to do that. They don't understand how good things are. So how do we get them to understand that their life would be better, their health would be better, everything in their life would be better if they ate better food?
That one's a hard one, and the reason for that is the propaganda, right? We are marketed as children through commercials and television shows, and hey, mommy, hey, daddy, can I have this sugary this and sugary that, and you know, folks
Tricks
are
are for kids.
tricks are for kids. I got a horror story about tricks, but latchkey, uh, childism, folks that are constantly working and having to eat processed food, mic meals, things like that. That's the society that we're in
So
now.
we're moving away from the discussion on celebration, but let's talk about that for a moment.
Hmm.
That happened in the 1970s.
That
Yeah, that
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 switch.
that that switch of income until okay, so we came out of World War II, and we were taxing corporations up to about 90% of their profits, and that had continued for several years afterwards, and that surplus allowed us to build the infrastructure that we have today. Unfortunately, we haven't done much in investing in that infrastructure since then, but up until the 1960s, we there were a lot of jobs, there was a lot of money, there were a lot of federal programs to expand infrastructure. You could buy a house on one income, and the woman and the wife, or however you do it back in 19. And okay, context, people, we're talking about the 1950s, not today. So when I say the man can earn the income, that was the norm. Not promoting that at all. I'm just saying that was the norm, and they
I
could buy a
can.
house. Yeah. Well, by the way, you could buy a home.
Let me put my water down. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
Okay. You could buy a home on one income, you could support a family on one income, and then they changed the rules in the 1970s. And they set it up so that they changed the structure of um, funding for homes, so it actually required two incomes, because at that point, between the 1950s and the 1970s, women had gone to work. So you could survive on one income, but people were thriving with two incomes.
Mm-hmm.
It was the golden age everybody looks at, but they look at it for the wrong reason. The golden age was because the government had taxed the corporations from the war and continued to do so until the 70s, when that tax was rescinded. And then the parasites came in and started changing the rules, so it required two incomes to be able to buy a house. And there goes the real estate market on the trend that brings us to today, where we can't even afford to live because people want to make money off of the real estate, and we aren't allowed to thrive. They will find a way to shift the rules so that our surplus goes away and goes to them,
Mm-hmm.
goes to the 1%. And so when I say them, I'm talking about the people who basically have most of the income funneled to them.
Well, this conversation is to me really important to have in regards to it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And I
Mhm.
love intellectually honest and stimulating conversations. And so when Trump had the "Make America Great Again," you had folks that were so against Trump that it's like they can't hear any of it, right? And whether he meant it for bad parts of that, there were good parts where America worked a lot better in the past in some regards. But because we're so latched on to the buzzwords, right, or whether it's BLM or MAGA or whatever, then all of a sudden we can't have this nuanced discussion and say, hey, you know what? Just what Mark was saying in regards to housing. Yeah, how do we get back to that part of Make America Great Again?
Well, we have to pull some teeth, is how we do that. And by the way, thank you for allowing me to go transition right back into talking about celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to talk about this, I have to talk about the fact that we are distracted, and our culture, our enculturation, which has been programmed throughout hundreds of years and thousands of years to feed upward the income and allow the rules change. the way that happens is we constantly get distracted. We're afraid. We're made afraid. We go out and get drunk because it's the way that we're told that we're supposed to be happy. I look at people who go out and get drunk every weekend, and I'm just kind of going, "What does that get for you?" I mean, first of all, who could freaking afford it at the cost of drinks these days? I'm not sure I can go into a bar and afford a beer anymore, let alone go out and get drunk. Um, how do people afford that?
But you partied, back in the day, right?
Nope.
Never?
I'm I am an adult child of alcoholics. Both my
Mm.
parents were
Well,
alcoholics.
see, then you have a very different situation. I wanted to just show you something, just segue, because I wanted to show Joe. This is my first kale crop that I picked this morning. Look how big my bowl is. Food for all, right? That's a lot of kale.
Yep.
Look, you see my babies out there? They're looking good. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. He came to drop something off of me. So, um, you're talking about changing behaviors, and that's one of the behaviors. I didn't do that last year. I talked about it and didn't get it done, and this year it was a priority. Right? That's the shift that has to happen. You have to have the temerity and the audacity to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do something different.
So in the side of that, we our landlords here have decided to eliminate access to the outside water sources
Wow.
because they got a $20,000 water bill for the 300 units in this complex. $20,000. Break that down. That's 60 some odd dollars per person. That was less than I was paying in Port Orchard for water in the South Sound Water District. And so they think that cutting off the outside access of water is going to change anything.
Hey, you're right. I pay $75 a month.
Yeah. The thing is that the lease is set up so that they pay utilities.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to not have to pay the $20,000, you should renegotiate with your leasers, your renters, to pay the utility.
Well,
But
they do it
cutting off
because
but cutting off the
they
outside
make money
water is
off of it.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Mark, they make money off it. I don't use $75 of water every month, right?
yeah,
When I owned my home, right? We paid the water bill every other month. That was a 5 bedroom, three full bath, right? And our water bill, if for 2 months, might have been 40, 50 on a high for 2 months. And I'm paying $75 a month. So what they do is they put it in as part of your rent so that they can make more money.
right. Well, and in Port Orchard, I was paying 150 every 2 months, so
Yeah,
$75
that's what
a
I pay
month.
now. Yeah. That's a lot of water.
Yeah, and for one person, it's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. But
Mm-hmm.
the point of it is cutting off the water on the outside spigots isn't going to make that big a difference in the $20,000 bill.
You
It
don't think
really
so?
isn't. Not really, because not many people use it. I mean, people aren't washing their cars every weekend. They may be
Mhm.
using it to some people water their lawns. We try and water the lawn enough not to have it completely, turn to dust, but not, we don't water it all the time. We do water our garden, but it doesn't take that much water.
Mhm.
And it's for us, it's just shifting to taking the water from the inside, going out and watering the lawn, or watering the garden, because that's what's going to happen. It's really not going to make that big a difference. I will hook a hose up to our faucet. I will take it out if we want to fill up the kiddie pool to put our feet in because it gets really hot. But we haven't even done that once this year. So I don't think that it's that turning in the outside, turning off the outside faucets is going to make any difference.
Well, folks want to pinch those pennies wherever they can.
I know, but wouldn't it be better to analyze where the water is going and or look at a long term solution instead of just saying, this is what we do as a society. We say we're going to fix it by doing this, and usually it's punitive.
And how did
Um,
they do that? Did they go through and like lock down all of the outdoor faucets, like put a
yep,
lock on them?
yep, they did that yesterday or day before yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So now we have to go hook a hose up to our faucet in the kitchen and water it that way. But it's still going to get watered. We're still going to use the water. Now,
Mhm.
here's the bigger question for you, and I'm just going to want you to think about this for a second. they're running a facility for people to live in. Think about that for a minute. Restricting water, is that allowing people to live?
No, but it's a profit thing, right? That's why I said we've got to get capitalism out of basic needs.
Yeah, and that's basically what we're doing. We have to have a grassroots network to make that work.
Hmm.
And for that, we have to think about, how we use our time and who we are going to become, not who we are right now, not what situation we're in right now. We need to think about who we are going to become and how we can work together to bring society back to where we can afford a home, where we can afford to live, where we can afford food, and where food is healthy. And as much as people hate this, but we need, okay, good news, bad news. We need to get back to cooking our own food and growing our own food. We need to stop working 80 hours a week to feed the few.
80 hours a week?
It's what I work now, pretty close to.
Yeah, the average person doesn't work 80 hours. So.
Many, many, many work 50 and 60 a week without even thinking about it because their job demands it.
I'd have to see those numbers, sir.
Yeah, go down to Silicon Valley and look at the average worker down there. They're doing 50, 60 hours a week.
In Silicon Valley,
Yeah, you want to
are
hold
there,
on to your job, that's what you do.
these are six-figure earners?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I violin for Silicon Valley.
yeah. Rob just pointed something out we should discuss. You want to put that up?
Yeah. It says it is a standard at most apartment complexes. You have no outside access, and they typically charge you for the water inside.
Which would be an answer here that would make more sense, but
Well,
they
and
don't.
here's another one too. Is I'm hearing more and more that people that are renting homes can't have barbecue grills. I'm like, when did this start?
So I've been watching PBS Terror, and I think life as you know it is going to change dramatically in the very near future. And I think it's changing now. Insurers in California are on the verge of pulling out of the state, which means banks won't be able to give people loans to build homes. And it's going to change the housing market dramatically. Now, one of the altering factors of this is they were talking to a guy out of Paradise. You remember the campfire in Paradise? Um, Absolutely, Rob. So Rob said insurance concerns and fire codes. All right, so the Paradise Fire wiped out 19,000 homes, billions and billions of dollars to insurance.
That's a lot
And
of
that's
money.
the one, by the way, just a reminder, that's the one that was caused by the failure in the hook that held up the line of a PG&E power pole. And,
Really?
and it fell down and lit the fire and went everywhere. So the one guy rebuilt there, but there's an institute in South Carolina that is making recommendations about how to have fire retardant homes, not retardant, but how to look at the planning for a home. You have fireproof roof, you have tight meshes on any ingress into the house. You have 5 feet away from your home is absolutely clear of anything that can be combustible. 30 feet away to 100 feet away, you have layers of burn zones. And the insurance company said, okay, you're doing this, we will insure you. But going back to the grills, and fireworks are the same thing for me. I mean, they could talk about how much water we use spraying down our roofs before a whole bunch of immature drunk people started blowing shit up all over the neighborhood. Because I do that every year. I water the hell out of all of the ground. I soak down everything on the outside of the house so that we have some chance to prevent a fire.
I just a part of me is like, you sound like you're a, get off my grass as you age.
Not so much as it don't burn down my house.
Right. But as a teenager, those probably weren't thoughts that were in your head.
No, as you get older, but again, let's talk about how culture influences us to behave in self destructive ways. And as a youngster, we are influenced by the commercials, by the toys, by the prevailing attitude to behave in a certain way. As we get older, we learn better, hopefully. Not everybody does.
Well, but there's sometimes, I think the government goes too far, like not being able to ride in the bed of a pickup truck, right? I mean, that's just something that you do.
Well, and I'm not talking about government. I'm talking about just us coming together and deciding that these are not good things. These are not good practices for all of us. For revising the social contract so that we have each other's backs, which means may have to change some of our behavior, but we do it voluntarily and through learning as opposed to restriction.
I hear what you're saying. I just see some of these things are they're cultural, right? And they're traditions, and those things are hard to change, right? And you've got as many of us get older and wiser, and maybe even crotchety a little bit. Um,
What
the
are you saying?
we we may still defend, hey, this is what I did when I was a kid. That's what folks do, and we'll defend that, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a hard one to change, right? And we're trying to change so many different things. Like, what
Everything
do we
is hard.
change first?
Change is hard, Marwan. Change is hard.
It
It
is
just
hard.
is. And it's
It
going
is.
to take time. It's going to take education. It's going to be revising our social contract and understanding that we have a social contract. This is generations of work. But I think I kind of maybe resent the comparison of blowing up fireworks on the 4th of July as being as traditional as a ghost dance that has been done by the Native Americans for, 1,000 years. Traditions, let's talk about, traditions.
Why? Why?
Well, culture.
You can you and the reason why I'm saying why
Most
I'm pushing
most
back on
states
that.
don't allow it.
Say
Most states
again.
most states don't allow it. You cannot buy fireworks like we buy in California. We
But
can't.
why did they do that?
Safety hazards, causing fires all over the place. Now the life is just is creating fires. Cantankerous. Rob says he prefers the term cantankerous.
But I say why in that comparison where you have, indigenous people that have, traditions that are thousands of years old, but America is young. So the tradition is as old as America for the most part, right? I don't know when fireworks started, but it's as old as we are in that regard.
Well, actually, for me, it's as old. Fireworks in the way that they're blown off here.
Hmm.
I only became aware of that when I moved to Washington State. In California, this doesn't happen.
And see, I was here since I was 9, and so this is all I know is fireworks.
Yeah. So, as I say, it's not the same everywhere. What we need to do is get some perspective and determine if the benefit that we all get out of it is worth the risk.
So I didn't hear about too many bad things happening. Say
and,
trauma from
and
pets and things like that.
so
Like I didn't hear about houses burning down. I didn't hear about any wildfires in Washington State.
so let's talk about how we hear about things in Washington State. And I can tell you
Mhm.
that there are all kinds of things that happen here all the freaking time that aren't covered in our newspaper. And we really don't have. It was bad before COVID. After COVID, it got horrible. We are
Really?
not we are not as connected as we were before COVID. We are far more isolated. We are not. We don't have as many information sources. I was thinking about this the other day because one
Hmm.
of our mutual friends is looking for an apartment, and I suddenly realized that um, I have not had an apartment in Washington State that was not referred. I was not referred to by a friend of mine, somebody I knew. I have never found an apartment going on an online search. Never, not once. So, or a search through property managers, except when I moved here in Washington State. And so I said, "Hey, this house is opening up here. It's where I used to live. You Why don't you go talk to the landlord?" And I'd get the place. That's the way that it's going, and I haven't seen much of that since post COVID. People don't seem to share that kind of information or talk in that way. I think we lost something in our connections in those 2 years, almost 3 years.
I don't know if the COVID was the catalyst or if it was the perfect storm of COVID and our divisive politics being at
Well,
an all-time high.
yes, I think it was the that period of time. I think in the future we will look back at it and consider it one of the marks that change happened, and negative change happened in our lives,
Mhm.
and also the marker that bad things can happen to us going forward if we don't pull our head out.
Well, this is very true, which is one of the reasons why we have these conversations.
Yep, every time.
And we work hard. And glass half full or the silver lining, I will say that there are a lot of individuals and organizations that are doing a better job of being intentional and coming together. That's what
Absolutely.
happened with us on Monday, right? There were about 7 agencies that came together to rock the block down on MO King and feed. So, and I'll leave some out, but the prayer walkers, New Day with Reverend Stewart, G2, Bailey and God's Broken Home, and Dawn Michelle from Socksbox, and Kimmy Sibbins, and I mean it just on and on and on. So we're all doing this work individually, and sometimes we'll team up. But this is the first time we all were like, you know what? We're all going to come together and we're all going to do this. That's different. Those are things that haven't happened really.
And isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah, it was great. It was
Yep.
great.
And I will say one. Yeah, am I going to go out on the limb? Yeah, I'll go out on the limb. What the hell? All you haters, feel free to hate me. One
Now
of the
who's reeling them in?
Yeah. So the one thing that I really like about that group of people, you
Hmm.
mentioned churches, you mentioned God's Broken Home, you mentioned all of these people who do good work in the names of Christianity and Christ, but they don't charge an admission of needing to sell religion.
Nope.
And that's a beautiful thing. What I resent are the people who do things that apparently are good so they can sell you their religion. I find that reprehensible. If you're going to do good work. Don't put a price tag on it.
Yeah. And if folks that are there want prayer, then they can get it. If they don't,
Yeah,
they don't have to get it.
it's entirely up to them, and
It's
that's the
entirely.
way it should be. So
Yep.
we want to talk about individuality. I think that's individuality. I'm not trying to force my way onto you. We talk it through and we find a place moving forward together.
It's just, I think having these conversations, because it is cultural, there are traditions, there are ways that the attitude a lot is this is how we've always done it. It's like that doesn't mean that we should continue to do it that way. It's having those discussions and also showing people another way to do things.
Yeah, I got the from my mother as she was getting older. It was good enough for us. It's good enough for you. Your life is far better than my life was. And I'm looking at moving forward and I'm going, yeah, no, it's not. And it's getting worse every year. And my daughter doesn't have anywhere near as much chance as I had. So you're full of shit. We need to
That's what
change
you
some
said to your
things.
mom.
Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
I'll say that to anybody who says something patently stupid.
Okay. This show just took a turn. Guys, don't talk to your mom like that. You need to go ahead, continue.
You know, I think we're going to have a show coming up here is the illusion of family.
Okay.
So, we have a lot of things we put on to family,
Hmm.
and I don't think the family stands up well enough for what we believe in. My family,
Clearly.
my family was broken in so many ways. Um, there are lots of stories that I have that probably formed me, about how broken my family was.
That
And I
is
know,
self-evident, sir.
and I know that you have similar stories, not
I
similar, but you have enough stories on your own.
I do.
So yeah, when I say something like that, it's because it was well deserved. I didn't usually go up to my mom and say, "God, mom, you're full of shit. Just shut up." But yeah, nobody is spared. Me and my mom, nobody
Yes,
is spared.
evidently.
We
Uh,
we have this illusion about family that is exactly that, an illusion.
Throw
And
mama from the train.
yeah, well, I wouldn't do that, but I certainly wouldn't put up with a lot of shit. So that's just kind of my way of looking at life. I think that we need to be honest, and I think we need to look at things clearly, and I think that we need to find a way to come together and find priorities that we can share.
I do agree with that for sure. That sounds like a good last word.
That does. Um, I don't have anything else to say. I've been doing a whole lot of work, but we will talk about that next week.
Are we gonna roll it out? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, next week is going to be the rollout.
Okay. All right. I'm definitely looking forward to next week. All right. Please repeat the last word one more time because I think it's that important.
Okay, so the point is that people need to come together and share conversations, look at things, honestly, and find priorities that we can work on together.
That's it. That is the final word. Man, I hope that you've enjoyed this show. This one was they're all good, right? But this was number 75. Definitely had some emotion and passion in there, which I think is important. Uh, and the discussion of doing things in a different way. We can do whatever we want, right? That is the power. That's why I have my dessert first when I go out to eat oftentimes, right? I decide. So we can decide to change. And if we decide together, man, we'll be so powerful because we the people. All right. So this is Dipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. And for Mark Boatwright Frost, I am Marwan Cameron. We'll see you tonight for City Council. All right, everyone. Take care of yourself and each other and stay hydrated. 81